One of the most memorable parts of Power Rangers is the Zords. In the comics, more wild variations of Megazords are introduced. Here are the top 15 Megazords you may not have known about. Jason and Tommy team up. The Red Tiger is a combination of the Red Omegazord and the White Tigerzord. At the final battle of the Necessary Evil story arc, it is Mecha against Mecha as Jason pilots his Red Omegazord against a rogue Blue Omegazord. But his divided attention for the whereabouts of Trainee leaves him at a serious disadvantage. His enemy, an alien named Garrison Vox, is one of the self-proclaimed Anointed, people who were imbued with grid energy as a result of Drakkon's invasion. Now possessing abilities that match and perhaps exceed that of a Power Ranger, the Anointed have pinpointed the existence of Rangers as the primary reason for suffering in the galaxy. Thus, they have banded together in an attempt to destroy our heroes once and for all. Garrison, who has hijacked the Blue Omegazord, is gaining the upper hand until Tommy arrives and the White Tigerzord as backup. But the legendary Blue Omegazord is far too fast and agile for the Tigerzord, and so Jason recommends a new plan, combining the two Zords to create the Red Tiger. This dramatic increase in power unlocks new abilities, including the Red Tiger Claw and the Red Tiger Blade, which allowed the duo to defeat Garrison Vox. However, the arrival of the rest of the Anointed threatened to overwhelm the combined Megazord with sheer numbers. As systems on the Red Tiger fail one by one, the Rangers' master plan finally springs into action. The arrival of the Solar Rangers. This team is empowered by an artifact known as the Solarix that possesses the ability to absorb grid energy. Using it, all of the Anointed are deprived of their powers, defeating the group entirely. The Mega Gravezord. The comics further confirm the existence of the multiverse within Power Rangers. In one world, when Tommy is freed from Rita's spell, he runs away in fear instead of becoming the Sixth Ranger. The first to find him is once again Rita Repulsa, who convinces him to return to her side, willingly. This time, the duo are able to defeat Zordon and the Power Rangers. In their victory, Tommy surprises Rita by betraying and killing her, usurping control of Earth as Lord Drakkon. In time, Drakkon is able to put Kimberly under mind control, much like how he was puppeted by the Space Witch, christening her as the Ranger Slayer and chief lieutenant of his Ranger Sentry army. The evil variant of Tommy places the Gravezord under her command. This kit-bashed Zord is made out of pieces of the now-destroyed Thunder Megazord, the White Tigerzord, and Tor the Shuttlezord. The Ranger Slayer and her Zord travel to the main timeline in search of a missing Drakkon, but find that they have landed too early. As the evil Kimberly tries to harness the command center to contact her world, she is defeated in combat by her younger counterpart, and her Bow of Darkness is destroyed. This shatters Drakkon's spell on her, prompting the resumption of her quest of vengeance against him. When Rita sends two monsters down to Earth, the Ranger Slayer sends the Gravezord to assist the Power Rangers. In that battle, the two Zords become one, forming the Mega Gravezord. This new combination gives the Megazord the ability to fly, as well as two new moves, the Tiger Claw attack and the Inferno Blaster, which manifests as a giant version of the Power Axe in gun mode. What is the Dragon Thunderzord? Have you ever imagined the Dragonzord and the Thunderzord combining? When the Death Ranger, an Omega Ranger who has the power to control the dead, arises from the shadows of history, the Power Rangers are pushed to use this new combination. A struggle deep within Jason's psyche has resulted in the shattering of the Death Ranger's morpher, their tether to the mortal realm. However, another connection exists, the Ultra Gold Omegazord. The Death Ranger's spirit latches on to the ancient Zord, desperate to destroy the other Rangers. At this point, the resistance is dwindled down to just the Thunder Megazord and the upgraded Dragonzord. As both Zords' power levels drop to critical levels, Adam's offhanded comment about the situation prompts Matt, the new Green Ranger, to suggest an upgrade. With that, the Thunder Megazord and the Dragonzord combine, forming the Dragon Thunderzord. The new union of Zords results in a multi-factor increase in pure power. With one Dragon Saber Fire Strike, it is able to rip the Gold Omegazord from the Ultrazord formation, destroying it and the Death Ranger along with it. However, the result of this grapple with the ancient, storied Ranger and their undead army is grim. Jason has lost his connection to the Morphin grid. In addition, the Death Ranger is still alive, biding their time and regaining their strength for the next time evil comes calling. Do you have a passion and want to make videos about it? Check out my guide to becoming a content creator, filled with everything I wish I knew before I started. An Ultrazord you've never seen before. Kimberly is ready to relinquish her temporary powers back to Zordon after the legendary Pink Ranger is able to save both her family and the residents of the village they were staying in. However, an emergency signal comes through her communicator from Tommy and the rest of the Mighty Morphin team. They've been on a mission off-planet and have landed into a battle with one of the most fearsome foes in the galaxy, Serpentera. The Ninja Falcon Megazord has been deactivated by Lord Zed and Rita's disruptor technology, and thus, the Rangers are trapped. After learning of this, Kimberly looks around at her options. Speaking with Alpha, they determine that she has an additional 12 hours of morph time left, and has Zord access only to Typhonis, with both Titanus and Tor, the Shuttlezord, in reserve. However, Kimberly and her team of all new Rangers have proven themselves worthy, and so they jet off to rescue their friends. Arriving as the assembled Typhonis Ultrazord, the two teams rendezvous and come up with a plan. Using the carrier Zords to destroy the disruptor atop Serpentera's head, the Ninja Falcon Megazord is able to restart. Both Megazords are then able to stagger Zed and Rita's ultimate weapon just long enough for the two teams to escape. Although Kimberly never reveals to Tommy that it was her underneath the helmet the whole time, her experience teaches her that she doesn't need to be a Power Ranger to be a hero. This is basically Tommy's Megazord. Did you ever wonder what would happen if the Dragonzord and Tigerzord combined? The comics provided the perfect scenario for this magical Megazord to emerge. After the events of Shattered Grid, Grace Sterling, a new character in Power Rangers lore, is able to create a second Green Ranger with the help of Billy. Grace had been revealed to be the first Mighty Morphin Red Ranger in the 60s, when the Green Psycho Ranger awoke on the moon and resumed his hunt for Rita's space dumpster. His objective was the green power coin that she held in her possession, and thus Zordon and Alpha scramble to assemble a team in response. The battle is eventually won, but at the cost of 3 of the new Rangers' lives. The experience scars Grace, leaving her with a healthy skepticism of Zordon, as well as a prize, the Psycho Green Dagger. It is through this artifact's connection to chaos energy that a 7th Ranger, Matt Cook, another new character, is added to the team. During the invasion of Earth by the Eltarians, Tommy and Matt are tasked with handling the Imperials, a trio of eldritch horrors that reflect the dark side of the Morphin Grid. When Grace is successful in her effort to destroy the crystal that controls the Imperials, the White and Green Rangers unveil the White Tiger Dragonzord. Wielding the drill tail of the Dragonzord on its left arm, this new Megazord unlocks a new attack, the Tiger Tail Strike. In addition, by concentrating power in the red jewel in the mouth of the Tigerzord, it can fire the Dragon Thunder Blast. With this ultimate combo, the White Tiger Dragonzord is able to destroy one of the Imperials and add an additional weapon to the Rangers' Zord arsenal. The Turtle Megazord crosses over. When the Ninja Turtles appeared on Power Rangers in Space, it set the stage for a comics crossover decades later. The die is cast once Tommy decides to venture to the Big Apple for a solo mission. His search for a fellow orphan named Tyler leads him to infiltrate the Foot Clan. Tommy's efforts to initiate into the dangerous organization puts him directly into the crosshairs of the Ninja Turtles. Their confrontation results in the two hero teams meeting for the first time. After Shredder's ultimate plan is revealed, the Power Rangers lose access to their morphing abilities. Since Shredder had seized the Dragon Power Coin for himself, their best option is to entrust the Turtles and April O'Neil with the rest of their powers, leading to them becoming Rangers. This culminates in a final battle with a grown Bebop and Rocksteady, the Technodrome, and the Dragonzord itself. Faced against these odds with just the Megazord, things were looking dire, until the Rangers arrive in a Zord-sized metalhead that Billy and Donatello were able to gigantify. The two mecha are then able to defeat Bebop and Rocksteady and incapacitate the Dragonzord, leaving the Technodrome as the final boss. At this point, both Zords are critically low on power, and the might of the Technodrome's arsenal worries our heroes. That is when Zordon reminds the Rangers that Zords are infinitely compatible, prompting the Megazord and Metalhead to combine and form the Turtle Megazord. This rejuvenated mecha is then able to cleanly slice through the Technodrome with the Power Sword, ending the fight. Enter the Black Dragon. When this mechanical villain makes their debut, it is our first hint that the world of the Power Rangers comics is unlike anything we have ever seen before. An explosion rocks the command center. As the dust settles, the silhouette of the Black Dragon looms over the Power Rangers. While our heroes attempt to battle this new foe, it walks through them effortlessly, seemingly familiar with their abilities and strategies. The Black Dragon also possesses the ability to disrupt their morphed state, causing their powers to glitch out at a time when they need it the most. When Billy is captured in the chaos of the Rangers' escape, the Black Dragon is able to use his power coin as a conduit to actually cut off the Rangers' access to the Morphin Grid, except for Tommy. After a lengthy struggle to learn about and fight with their newest enemy, Tommy and Billy end up inside it, while the mechanical monster is in a grown state. When they succeed in sabotaging its power source, the Black Dragon is destroyed in a huge fireball. In the wreckage, we learn the truth about the Black Dragon, that it is actually a Zord, And not just any Zord, but made out of pieces of the Dragonzord. This contradiction is explained when Tommy and Billy wake up on a different Earth, one where the Green Ranger had teamed up with Rita Repulsa, even after her spell on him was broken. The Black Dragon was a herald sent by this variant of Tommy, the head of his master plan to conquer all multiverses of the Morphin grid. The Mega Terrorzord is nightmare fuel. They are the most dangerous team of evil rangers to have ever existed. The comics contain their own take on Lord Zedd's Dark Rangers after the Emperor of Evil returns from a short stint in a space dumpster. That time away allowed Zedd to hatch a new plan. By tricking the Power Rangers into charging the green Chaos Crystal in his possession, he is able to empower Rita's henchmen with Ranger-like powers. Finster, Squat, Babu, Goldar, and a putty replica of Rita gains savage Dark Ranger forms, each augmenting their existing abilities to terrifying new levels. In addition, Zedd crafts animalistic Zords for each of them to pilot. These Terrorzords are like something straight out of the pages of Lovecraft. Horrifying monsters that resemble demented versions of dragons, wyverns, centaurs, and hyenas. This unexpected development overwhelms the Power Rangers, who are unprepared for the raw speed and power that these Dark Rangers possess. When the Terrorzords combine to form the Mega Terrorzord, the Mega Tigerzord and the Red Dragon Thunderzord are pushed to the brink. But as the Thunderzord's power levels and the odds of survival drop dangerously close to zero, an unexpected ally joins the fight. A mysterious second Green Ranger arrives and targets Lord Zedd and the green Chaos Crystal that he wields. Zedd desperately tries to stop the new Ranger from shattering the crystal and fails, resulting in a huge explosion that leaves him in a debilitating coma. The loss of the source of their powers significantly weakens the Dark Rangers, allowing the Mega Tigerzord to destroy the Mega Terrorzord with its final attack. This clash shows us that this version of Dark Rangers were more than capable of besting the Power Rangers in a fair fight. Solar Megazord. Power up! A ragtag group of Power Rangers from across time end up stranded in a dimension devoid of the Morphin grid. It's a race against the clock, as every single morph brings each of them one step closer to losing their powers for good. In this hostile world, time-stranded Rangers like Andros, Tanya, Cam, Heckle, Mike from Lost Galaxy, and the variant of Kimberly that is the Ranger Slayer fight for survival. Their odds are dealt a huge blow when a mysterious new Ranger appears with the ability to siphon grid energy for themselves. Desperate to live, our heroes track down this stranger and are shocked to find out the truth of this universe. The artifact being used to absorb grid energy is called the Solarix, and it's the power source for a team called the Solar Rangers that were sent by the Morphin Masters to help this dimension. However, the Morphin Master that arrived with the Solar Rangers soon became disillusioned with the mission, viewing this world as unworthy of being saved. Now calling himself the Praetor, he seeks to capture the Solarix to finally destroy this cursed dimension. The stranded Rangers then lend their hand to defeating the Praetor and become the newest team of Solar Rangers. Along with these new powers come new Zords, which also have the ability to combine into the Solar Megazord. By harnessing the power of a planet made entirely of Zeo crystals, the Rangers and the Solar Megazord are able to restore the dimension's connection to the Morphin grid. As each Ranger returns to their own timeline, they leave behind their piece of the Solarix, ready to anoint a new team of Solar Rangers dedicated to guarding their own world. What is the Ultra Omegazord? You will never guess who pilots this Megazord. Following the events of Shattered Grid, reality is restored, but not perfectly. Through fissures in the fabric of space-time, grid energy leaks out and selects random beings throughout the galaxy to be its host. This imbues them with abilities to rival a Power Ranger, increase strength, faster agility, and even the power of flight. When they start to use their powers for personal gain, it represents a grave danger for the rest of the universe. Thus, the Blue Emissary, an ambassador of the Morphin grid, steps in. They draft Jason Scott, the mighty Morphin Red Ranger, into the mission of solving this crisis. As Jason recognizes the scale of the problem over time, he realizes that he must dedicate everything to the cause. Together with Zach and Trini, the Rangers leave their team, jet off into space, and become the newest team of Omega Rangers, a power set that has existed for centuries. Based on the alchemical properties of fire, earth, air, and water, the Omega Rangers also pilot their own Omegazords, who have designs that are decidedly alien in nature. When combined, they form the Ultra Omegazord, which the Rangers use to defeat the Green Imperial, an ancient eldritch being that represents chaos and entropy. It also levels up. The Ultra Omegazord has an additional form, revealed when the Gold Omega Ranger resurfaces. The Omega Rangers were originally a team of 5, red, blue, yellow, black, and gold. Imbued with the alchemical powers of the sun, the Gold Omega Ranger is perhaps the most powerful of the team. Hidden deep inside their morpher is the ability to control the dead, which is unlocked by the Gold Ranger when their psyche is shattered by the loss of their teammate. Because their own race does not experience death like most other beings, the Gold Ranger is puzzled by the permanent demise of their comrade. Thus, they obsess over a way to solve this problem, leading them to necromancy as a cure. Although their own surviving teammates successfully stop and imprison the Gold Omega Ranger, over the centuries, they only grow more cold, more distant, and more sure of their thinking. Finally, fates collide when Andros encounters the trapped Omega Ranger, with the latter promising to save the fallen Silver Space Ranger with their abilities. Once freed, the powerful necromancer begins to kill and control other Rangers, including Jason, Zack, and Trini, who by this time are the new Omega Rangers. Through them, the Gold Omega Ranger controls all of their Zords, and combine them together with his own to form the Ultra Gold Omegazord. The ultimate form of the Omegazords gains an increased power level in addition to 4 angelic wings that propel it into battle. What did they do to Lord Zed? This bizarrely named Zord has an origin that is perhaps crazier than its moniker. A kit-bashed mecha from the same universe as Lord Drakkon, the Zerrzord contains pieces of the destroyed Dragonzord grafted to the dead, grown body of Lord Zed. When Drakkon vanishes after the events of Shattered Grid, Earth becomes a battleground between Lord Zed and the fractured armies led by Scorpina and Finster 5. Upon his death, Zed's body is used as a playground of experiments by Finster 5, who himself is a cyborg, kept alive by the parts of Alpha that have been melded to him. The putty artist's grand opus is the Zerrzord, which he unveils in the fight against a ghost Rita, whom Trini conjured in the desperate gamble for survival during the Civil War. Purged of all intellect and sense of self, the flesh mecha is now powered by the muscle and sinew of the former Emperor of Evil. It takes on the grown zombie Goldar, who himself has also had his dead body reused as an instrument of war. Upon the defeat of Rita, the Zerrzord joins the arsenal of the new Drakkon army, a tenuous alliance between all survivors of the Civil War. However, it would soon meet its demise once called upon to battle Eclipta, the next threat that arrives on Earth. Dimension X has their own Zords. At the end of the second Power Rangers Ninja Turtles crossover, Casey Jones and April O'Neil left Earth on a mission: find worthy wielders of the Dimension X morphers. When they return from the dangerous world, we discover the identity of the new Extreme Power Rangers. They are revealed to be Kala, Zack, and Dask, neutrinos who live and fight against Krang in Dimension X. Unexpectedly, these 3 Rangers come in new colors: green, cyan, and violet, respectively. Add them to the existing blue, purple, red, orange, yellow, and pink. This means that there are at least 9 Dimension X Rangers. This new team also has their own Zords, which were detected the first time they morphed. In the finale of the 3rd crossover comic, the Dimension X Rangers arrive on Earth to aid the Turtles and the Mighty Morphin team against the combined forces of Lord Zed and Shredder. Goldar gets the first taste of the new team's abilities when they form a power blaster of their own, firing upon the Golden Minion. The final challenge, however, required much more firepower. A gauntlet of 3 grown monsters versus the Dino Megazord, Dragonzord, and Turtle Megazord forces the Dimension X Rangers to summon their own Zords and combine with each of the Megazords to augment their abilities. With the upgrade in Arsenal, the 3 Megazords are able to destroy the monsters, bringing our heroes one step closer to defeating both of their fiercest rivals. Is this the most Zords in a Megazord? This is perhaps the most powerful Megazord ever assembled. The so-called Mega Megazord appears at the climactic battle during the Shattered Grid crisis. Power Rangers from across time and space assemble for a final assault on Lord Drakkon's base on the moon. However, the evil variant of Tommy is defended by his legion of Ranger sentries, ordinary humans empowered en masse by stolen morphers. Drakkon's army also includes the villains of Ranger teams, including foes like the Psycho Rangers, SPDA squad members, and fearsome machines like Serpentera. Drakkon himself is also insanely strong at this point. By forcing stolen morphers to meld with his green and white Ranger powers, he has now evolved to where he can directly siphon Ranger powers through the use of a Saba longsword. The might of his army clashes with all of the Power Rangers, leading to some of them dead and Zords destroyed. Pushed to the brink by Serpentera, Jen Scotts, the Time Force Pink Ranger, scrambles to calculate a solution out of the surviving Zords. The result? No less than 15 that can combine into a titanic Megazord. The Mega Megazord is formed and grown to a size that can handle Serpentera, and after a lengthy struggle, manages to impale the mighty dragon upon Lord Drakkon's tower, taking it out of the fight. But that victory would not last, as Drakkon returns to the battlefield in his ultimate form, after having risked his life to give himself all of the Ranger powers, giving him godlike abilities, including the power to enter the Morphin grid itself. The Dragonzord gets in on the fun. The Dragon Turtlezord is a fierce combination of the Dragonzord and Metalhead from Ninja Turtles. The Dragonzord also has a surprising pilot, so let's get into the lore. In the second Ninja Turtles / Power Rangers crossover, the Rangers find themselves embracing their inner animal, as they utilize the ooze to become mutant Rangers. Each teenager becomes an animal-human hybrid, taking cues from their own dinosaur. Although they initially struggle to acclimate to their new bodies, instructions and guidance from the wise Master Splinter soon have them leaning into their relative strengths. However, becoming a mutant creates a problem. They can no longer call nor pilot their Zords. So, when Krang smashes into the battlefield, piloting the Dino Megazord that he stole and modified for war, the mutant Rangers are outmatched. Thus, an unlikely ally becomes key to Krang's defeat, the Shredder. With a Shadow Morpher in his possession, the leader of the Foot Clan is able to morph into the Green Ranger and play the flute to summon the Dragonzord. At the same time, a grown Metalhead arrives to the fight, piloted by Alpha 5 with the guidance of Zordon. When Krang reveals that he upgraded the Dino Megazord with a powerful cannon, the tides of battle turn. But, with the help of the Mutant Ranger's distraction of the Dimension X villain, Metalhead and the Dragonzord find enough time to combine, forming the Dragon Turtlezord. This power-up allows the new Megazord to dismantle Krang's upgrades, disabling him and ending the battle. In the aftermath, the Rangers return to their human forms, with a little bit of sadness. But, the Shredder forms an alliance with a potent new partner, Lord Zed. When Godzilla meets the Power Rangers. What happens when the Power Rangers team up with Godzilla and some of his closest allies? Of course, you would get a Kaiju Megazord. In the comics, the Rangers cross over with the King of Monsters on 2 separate occasions. The second time around, Rita Repulsa has teamed up with Astronema, whom she meets while traversing the multiverse. Their plan to destroy all of their enemies hinges on many of Godzilla's strongest foes. By magically combining the fearsome Psycho Rangers with the likes of King Ghidorah, Space Godzilla, and more, the two villains have managed to craft a team that can threaten every universe. In response, Zordon lends his knowledge of the Morphin grid to the mysterious Elias, priestesses of the noble Queen Mothra. In conjunction with Mothra's magic, the heroes are able to harness the energy of Godzilla and his closest allies to form a team of Kaiju Rangers. Along with that power-up comes brand new Zords, mechanized versions of the likes of Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, Anguirus, King Caesar, and Baragon. During the final battle, the arrival of the Psycho Rangers prompts the formation of the Kaiju Megazord. After a fierce clash, the villains are defeated when Zord and Kaiju team up. In the aftermath, one universe that Rita and Astronema decimated has the Rangers receive the coveted Kaiju Power Coins, protecting that world from further harm. As for Rita, she skulks back into the shadows for the next phase of her plan. And this time, Rita plans on working with allies that she knows she can trust. Variants of herself. The first man-made Zord? The White Tiger Mechazord arrives at a turning point for the Power Rangers, except they did not know it at the time. It is a combination of the White Tigerzord and the Mechazord, which is a wholly human-created Zord that is the brainchild of Grace Sterling, a new character in the comics. After her short, traumatic experience in 1969 as the Mighty Morphin Red Ranger, she develops the Mechazord with an eye on being a check against Zordon's alien influence on Earth. The story picks up in the aftermath of the Shattered Grid event, and change is afoot. Jason, Zach, and Trini are off-planet, away on a secret mission to help mend tears in space-time. Thus, Lord Zed takes advantage of Earth's defenses being at half power and sends his monster and minions down to Grace's company, Promethea, in search of the green Psycho Dagger. Zed's monster, called Hodgepodge, is heavily armored for the siege on Promethea, and thus, when the creature is grown, the remaining Thunderzords have a difficult time matching up, even with the Mechazord joining the fray. When the Tigerzord in Warrior mode becomes the last one standing, Saba suggests that it combine with Grace's Zord to become the White Tiger Megazord. The increase in armor and weaponry allows the new Megazord to break through Hodgepodge's defenses, with the thunderous White Tiger Mecha Strike ending the threat. However, while the Rangers were able to defeat Zed's plan this time, the close call helps lead Jason, Zach, and Trini to their decision to leave the Power Rangers, as their own secret mission becomes ever more important. This fateful decision will have major ramifications going forward. So here you have 17 of the craziest combinations of Zords, old and new, in the Boom Studios comics. Which one is your favorite? For more Power Rangers lore, check out this video where I highlight 7 new teams in the comics. Consider hyping this video, along with a like if that option is available to you. Subscribe and stay tuned for more from Morphin Shorts.